Well, here we are with Andy and Jobey Frank, wonderful family that I've had the pleasure of knowing for many years now. We get to work together both professionally and personally, and you guys are some of my very best friends. So
we're big believers in you, man.
Thank you guys so much for coming on our podcast, TED Talks Finance, Episode 2. Let's get started. So Andy and Jobey, you guys are real estate professionals amongst a ton of other wonderful things that you do with your lives. But in the manner and the spirit of having a great talk today, professionally and personally, why don't you guys just start by telling us a little bit about yourselves, how you came to be where you are, and let's just hear from you a little bit.
Well, Jobey's a native of Phoenix. I've been here since I was about 8 or 9 years old.
Cool.
We got married when we were juniors in college. GCU is where we met. I stepped into music ministry actually, and Jobey was doing marketing. And fast forward into 2006, she got a real estate license. I was still working as a music guy in a local church. And in 2017, I got my real estate license, and we started doing this together. Still very involved in our local church. But I've just made the transition over the last 7 years to move full-time into real estate, and now we partner together. We lead a team called the Frank Realty Group, and on top of that, we do general contracting as well and do remodel work and renovation in homes and flip and just work with many of our clients in helping them invest well, helping them create beautiful spaces to rent out, second homes, those types of things. So we really love what we get to do together. Yeah.
So we have 2 daughters. One is 20 and the other one is 23. And they are the life of our family. So.
Awesome. Along with your dog. So,
and Poppy.
And Poppy.
Our golden doodle.
Who is a sister to your dog. So.
I know.
Yeah, we are related.
So we are related.
Exactly, our mini golden doodle Muffin related to Poppy, and so that's awesome in that way. Man, so Andy, you hit on a bunch of different things that you guys do to serve your clients, and one thing I appreciate about you guys is similar to what I try to provide for clients is just saying, hey, there's a lot that we can help you accomplish. It's not necessarily one-sided in the things that we do. You mentioned not only facilitating buying and selling real estate, but investing in it, planning for that, and then also helping people with remodeling, flipping, doing things like that. What made you guys want to kind of expand your business to have a wider reach and do a lot of different things rather than maybe specializing in one over the other?
Oh, well, Andy gets bored.
Yeah.
And so that's the true reason behind everything.
Yeah.
But I think it's just part of just growing as a person and just growing in our business and trying to see what other needs people have and meeting those needs.
There's just so many facets to the real estate business, like you said, we already just mentioned. Investing, just creating beautiful spaces for people.
Yeah.
People may want to rent. People may want to do the long-term or the short-term rental. Obviously, here in the Phoenix market, this is a destination place for people. So they do love to come here vacation, especially during the winter months. It's a great place to come. So it does make it a wonderful place for people to invest in properties and also, generate wealth that way. So it really just gives us a couple of different lanes under the umbrella of real estate to serve people, to expand our influence and our reach, and like Jobey said, exercise other creative parts of our brain, and that's something that's important for me. So
help keep things moving. I've heard a lot of times if you're not growing, you're dying.
Yeah,
and so
for sure.
Something I've always tried to facilitate and that I see you guys do a lot is be lifelong learners.
Right.
I would say that you guys are both 2 of the people that I look to the most in my own life for advice, wisdom, all sorts of things. But I see just in the same way that you guys are also always learning and growing new skills, new talents, and learning from other people as well.
Well, we feel the same way about you. I mean, that's one of the things I think that we really enjoy together, the 3 of us, is just becoming students of our craft. And I think it really makes us effective at helping people, serving people in a really meaningful and long-term way too. It really helps move what we do from transactional to relational, because then people trust us as a financial advisor, as real estate agents. We get to be a part of the long-term plan that they're putting together, and we really feel like we can add value, all of us, in what we do by becoming students of our craft.
Yeah, totally. And that getting away from a transactional model and into a relationship, sort of model is super important, because then people understand that these are people you're making a relationship with to work with down the line. This isn't a one-time deal.
Right.
If I work with Andy and Jobey on the real estate side, or if I work with TJ and Rifkin Wealth Management here, this is something that I'm buying into for a long time to say, hey, I trust these people that I'm working with, and when they've taken care of me here, I know they're going to do it again.
That's right.
And then it also gives people confidence in referring their other friends or their clients to you, because they say, I'm referring you based on the experience that I had.
That's right.
The
There is a
experience.
ripple effect to what we do. And you've been such an advocate for us, and man, we advocate for you, and it's the joy of being able to do this together. And, you know, we start getting 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 layers deep into relationships. And by the time you get that deep into a ripple, most of those people don't even know where it started. They don't know the person on the front end. And when you get to that point, I mean, this really goes for anyone in a service-related type of industry. This is where you create longevity and joy in your work. So it's something we can all, you know, take to heart.
Yeah, I think it's always funny. It's, hey, my best friend's cousin's goldfish's mom's grandma said this. And
Yeah.
That's
Right.
Well, that's how it all. That's how
true.
we found ourselves
Yeah.
here. So, man, I've known you guys for the better part of 5.5 years now at this point, which is crazy to think about. What do you guys remember about when we first met? How did we end up getting connected?
Go ahead.
Well, our friends at Plumiers, you had reached out to them to say you wanted to buy a house. Mind you,
Yep.
you were a senior in college.
Yep.
And I
Maybe
remember
a junior, actually.
Yeah.
He was a junior.
you were a young man. And I remember meeting with you over at the coffee shop, and I was thinking, this guy is ambitious. He knows what he wants. He's ready to go for it. But will he? Is really kind of the question of a lot of people
Yeah.
say they want to buy a home, they want to do this, or they want to invest. And you have done it over and over and over again. So I think that was like very impressive to us. And you're such a go-getter and just very tenacious at what you do. And that just built my confidence, not only in you as my client, but also to be able to use you as a financial advisor to say,
Yeah.
this guy's going to get it done, but he's also knows what he's doing, you
Yeah.
know, and really studying that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, to start, a referral is how we ended up
Yeah.
coming to meet each other, right? And so people that trusted you with their real estate and with their lives. People don't realize how much real estate agents or advisors and or loan officers really see with a person. Sometimes it's like a doctor. You open up the hood and you see everything in that scenario. So those people trusted you. And then in the same way that oftentimes I'm able to share you guys now, they said, hey, Andy and Jobey are going to be able to help you guys in that scenario. When I first came to you guys, I knew nothing about real estate. I mean, literally nothing. I consider myself to be well versed at this point, giving people
Right.
professional advice.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you guys remember offering and guiding me, you know, giving advice through that process when I didn't know anything about it? How did you help take maybe some of my goals and aspirations for what I wanted to accomplish in real estate, growing wealth being one of them? How did you guys help steer that and kind of mold that clay to help lead into maybe what I'm doing now?
Well, I think it just started by just asking the question is what do you want? What are your goals? There's some people, when they think about investing, they're thinking in maybe just 1 or 2 lanes of investing. You probably see it all the time. It's just people don't know. They haven't been educated on the different pathways for people to invest. So that's one thing we always start with is just asking, where do you want to go? And how can we help you get there? And you were very clear about the fact that you wanted to invest. You wanted real estate to be a part of your investment wealth building portfolio. And in the same way, you do the same thing with people when it comes to financial investments. Where do you want to go? How can I help you get there? And you just start showing people the pathway. And that's what we did with you. And I remember when the first house that you bought, you were actually working, if I'm not mistaken, you were working a couple hours away down in Tucson that morning. I think I called you at about 5:30 in the morning and said, hey, TJ, I think we found one. I think this is the one.
Yeah.
You finished your shift. You flew up to Phoenix, drove
totally.
fast, which you normally do anyway.
Yeah.
And you got up to Phoenix, and we put an offer in, and it was an aggressive offer, and we got it. It was incredible, and that just started your whole journey into real estate. And man, it's just been incredible to see your growth and your the way that you've learned and applied yourself. This is our mascot here.
Yeah, this is Poppy. Yeah, absolutely. I remember texting 5:30 in the morning, hey, this is happening. I get off, we're done. In that house, we had an offer accepted by 7 o'clock that night.
Right.
And, you know, I believe that, you know, being prayerful through that scenario was also part of that too. So, Andy, you had mentioned the notion of building wealth for clients and diversifying some of those investments. Sometimes I see people that are hell-bent on maybe just investing in real estate, or they're investing in the market specifically, and they're saying, hey, this is, you know, what I want to do. How do you help sometimes zoom out and encourage people to have a more wide approach to their financial planning? Diversification, maybe, how does that play into the role of wealth for your clients?
No, that's a great question. We are big fans of diversifying our own personal portfolio, and we encourage our clients to do the same, because the mechanism that we're investing into, whether it be real estate or stocks, mutual funds, whatever it might be that all of us help people invest in, we don't control the actual markets. You know, we're constantly responding to market conditions. So by being lean and diversified in where we're putting our money, it really does give us an opportunity to invest in certain areas. While one might be going up, the other one might be moving in a different direction, but the markets are cyclical as well, you know, so the diversification of putting our money into different areas really becomes a good discipline in our opinion.
Yeah, and I think something that you hit on there that's really important is we can't forecast everything that's going to happen. You know, I say to people oftentimes, it's not my job to predict the rain, it's to build the ark. You know, call back to Noah in the Bible, thinking about that is, hey, things are going to change. The reality is it's your job to be faithful and diligent to prepare for whatever scenario is going to face you. So something that I wanted to hit on a little bit is the concept of financing, right? Real estate oftentimes has a high barrier to entry in investing compared to maybe an index fund or a stock, something that I might coach somebody through earlier in their stage in investing. High barrier to entry, not only with down payment restrictions, but also getting approved for financing. How do you guys sometimes help coach individuals or families through the hurdles that come with either getting approved or denied for financing in a tough environment with that?
Well, we're typically always working with either a first-time home buyer or somebody that's bought before. But we do treat each client in each situation almost as if this is their first time buying and educating them, asking them questions about their situation. So obviously the first thing that's important to understand is it takes some down payment, it takes some money to be able to get into the market. So if we're working with first time home buyers, we're asking questions around what have you saved? We talk with them about, have they established any credit? What does that look like? You know, we've got some clients right now, they've saved a tremendous amount of money. They're looking to buy their first home, but they've never established any credit. So we're talking with them about what that process looks like, of how can they streamline the process to even begin building a credit score really in as little as 30 days, and some incredible tools around that a lot of people may not know about that are accessible to them. There's also many opportunities, specifically in the market that we're in, where down payment assistance is available to people. So there's just different tools that we thankfully have educated ourselves on, so that we can help guide people into that process of what financing looks like. And then of course there's expenses with just closing costs and prepaids and all of the things that a lot of times people don't think about. They may just know about the fact that I have to put a down payment on this house, but there are other expenses. Well, the lender that you choose, the title company that you work with, the partnerships that are out there can all help save people cash out of pocket as they close on a home. So we really just try to guide people through their own unique situation and listen to them and then guide them accordingly.
Yeah, you know, investing in real estate, oftentimes when you're trying to create a home for yourself, it can be really emotional, right? So sometimes, you know, I've even gone through this myself. You get really attached to somewhere, right? You see the dream in what it is that you're trying to create there for you or your family, and you buy in emotionally. When you see clients sometimes get declined for a loan or something like that, how do you A, help them negotiate through that scenario with their own emotions to stay objective, but B, get creative to potentially find a different way? I mean, I can say specifically, you know, I've had scenarios where our initial plan for financing didn't go the way that we thought. And so we've had to fight to find other alternative routes or more creative and strategic planning to make it work.
Right.
How have you guys helped people do that?
Yeah, sometimes we have to add in a family member or a co-signer on it. Other times it just takes more time to build the credit or to, you know, gain the down payment amount. I think that creativity is what is just really important, and also the experience of the years in the industry of just taking all the different tools that we have and putting them together in a toolbox and pulling them out one at a time as we need be. So just that experience of being through so many transactions and so many different situations, that's where our minds are constantly spinning and going, what do we do? How do we pivot? And we go from there.
Yeah, experience is the best teacher. And so when you can help somebody through a scenario based on something that you've actually walked through already with a client that might be super similar to them or totally different, you can help draw those parallels that help lead that client to something successful. So one thing that I really love and appreciate about you guys is I would say that you're totally different personalities.
Really?
Right, well, you know.
Oh, I don't know about that.
But that's to say, there's, super powerful things to be offered with contrast in personality, expertise, emotional temperament, those kinds of things. I've noticed in scenarios where sometimes the combination of your personalities helps achieve a goal better than working with maybe a solo realtor or somebody that's doing something on their own. How would you guys say that working together, not only as a married couple, but a couple that's equally yoked spiritually, but having different personalities, how do you work together to help serve people in a different way than maybe somebody else?
Well, I think we really just lean into the natural gifts that we believe God's given each one of us. I love the negotiating side. I love being very hands-on and tactile with our clients in that regard. Jobey brings incredible wisdom just all over years of understanding the contract, understand the back office, and we both have a lot of knowledge of both of those sides, but we also shine in certain areas. So it really is fun and quite frankly advantageous for us when we're able to come in together and sit down with clients and just brainstorm and think tank different ideas and different solutions. So
and for our children, it's kind of sad that we sit down at the table every night and we do the same thing. We're constantly strategizing. We're talking about scenarios. I mean, we're probably the most boring parents ever, but that's what we mostly talk about is real estate. And so, that is part of the beauty of us being together. And we started together. I mean, we started at Grand Canyon University and we started working together. Actually, Andy started working for me, but
she needed an assistant and I needed a girlfriend. And
it worked perfect.
It was perfect. And then, I know what a great negotiator he is. And so I truly was really wanting him to join my team and to be a part of what I was doing because I know how valuable he is and just I value him, but at the same time, he values me. And so there's a mutual respect there. And I really appreciate that. And I think that that's evident in what we do. So it just gives me confidence to know that he has certain things covered. And I'm sure it gives him confidence to know that I have other things covered. So it's a good teamwork.
Yeah, absolutely. I've even seen, as we've looked at even doing prospective real estate deals together, how the difference in your guys' personalities helps the whole team see things that maybe Andy and I wouldn't see because Jobey has a totally different lens over here of maybe it's a risk or an upside or something that we would be missing or lacking entirely on our own. So I think that's awesome. And the team approach that you guys bring to serve clients gives people kind of a 2-for-1 value.
It does.
A lot of times. And sometimes if you run into scenarios where you're working with people who aren't professional or they don't have the experience that you guys do, sometimes being able to have a team approach to those people to not only help them for their next deal, you're talking to an agent who's brand new, maybe they're just helping out their friend for the first time. You meet them and leave them better than you found them because you treat them with respect and you teach them by leading.
We also find too when we're working with clients, some of our clients gravitate more to one of us than the other at times. And so it really does give us the opportunity to just assess who's the better person to lean into that relationship and who's going to take a little bit more of a second violin position, on this one. And so it really has been a lot of fun. And then there's clients, of course, that just, man, they want both of us on it every time. And sometimes that gets difficult too, because as things have grown and developed and we've got other agents that are on our team and projects that we're working on. Sometimes we're dividing and conquering on any given day, but the best that we can, we really try to have those touch points with every client where both of us can be there to serve them and let them know that we're present.
Sometimes you need a little good cop, bad cop. Different temperaments lead to working better with different people. If you need
the good cop?
It depends on the day, right? If you need the strong negotiating, right? You say, hey, you got to let sick Andy on it and they'll take care of it, right? If they need more of a, maybe a different emotional EQ sort of approach, you'll have Jobey call him. Sweet Jobey, right?
But I will say for all three of us and what we do, one of the things we value about you, TJ, and it's something that we really strive to be excellent at, is spending less time selling and more time solving. Listening to people, learning their story, what's going on, what journey are they on right now, what do they need from us at any given moment, and rather than to try to come in and prescribe something without actually doing the diagnostic. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And
That's
really, really taking from them the conversation, asking good questions, and then that's how all of us are able to solve and find solutions for people to help really guide them well in their journey.
Yeah, the old adage of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
If what you're selling people on oftentimes is your expertise, and you spend so much time on that and not actually helping solve the problem that they're coming to you with,
That's right. Yeah.
you really just, what are you helping people with?
Right.
You're just like
Right.
everyone else out
Yeah.
there that's doing it.
Pushing
too,
an
you know?
agenda.
Yeah.
Exactly. So something I'd love to hit on, going back to the concept of financing, right? When you invest in real estate, there's a lot of leverage in that way that sometimes you're using debt deliberately to be able to purchase an asset in a home. If you're just all the way down on the scale of, hey, our only real estate investment is our primary home, and so we have a mortgage, maybe our goal is to pay that off right away and live debt free. Or somebody's goal is, hey, I want to strategically use mortgage debt to buy a lot of properties, or use debt in another way to leverage it for more growth. Debt can be kind of a hot button topic. How do you help coach your clients through the concept of using leverage and or debt?
Well, I think we always have to realize that anything that we decide to invest in, there's always a risk. And we talked about a few minutes ago. We don't control the market conditions. What we do is try to posture the people that we serve in a really positive and conservative way that exercises stewardship and wisdom, so that they can make an educated, very informed decision on how to invest wisely. So, but as we think about debt, I mean, obviously we're talking about, in the context of real estate, the largest purchase that people will ever make in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most people, don't have, well, in the market that we're in, $450,000, which is the median price for a home now in the greater Phoenix area. They don't have that sitting around. They make about 25% of that every year. So they're relying upon the income that they have, and the bottom line is their income is their greatest wealth building tool.
Absolutely.
How they leverage it and what they decide to do with it is the key. So that's just something that I think is very important for people to realize, is that if they want to step into a house, they're going to be saving for a long, long time if they want to pay cash for that. Otherwise, they're going to have to exercise, that process of grabbing a mortgage and jumping on for the ride, and then doing it with wisdom, doing it with the guidance of professionals that can lead them towards success.
Yeah, sometimes you got to run a little bit before you can walk. Sometimes you have to make the leap and do something like that. Even just personally in my own situation, when I bought my first house, a lot of the wisdom that's conventional out there is that you want to try to save 20% for your first down payment on a home. Helps you avoid some other fees like private mortgage insurance, stuff like that. In my own scenario at the time, I was working part-time at a church, and I was paying for school out of pocket. And at the time, I used a 5% conventional down payment loan to buy that home. Just in the radical change and increase in value in real estate during that time period, had I waited till I had 20% to purchase that home, I would have missed the train. I would have missed the train entirely, and I would not have that home today. And so that being said, how many people might be missing out by waiting too long? Even just on that example, just a year and a half later, options to be able to refinance at a higher equity level just because of appreciation. Had I not done that, I wouldn't have been able to do that. How do you help encourage people in that when they are ready to take that leap?
I think there's always a comfort level for anyone when they're going to take a risk. And so I find that we don't push them too hard to make them uncomfortable, or, we're really pressing for that sale. I think we are looking out for their best interest. Our heart is for them to be successful no matter what they choose to do. But there are just some creative things you can do, such as once you have your first house, well, then start saving so that you can buy another house after that. And so I just, those are some concepts that just have not always been used and taught. And that's what I think we bring to the table, is that we are trying to educate people of how do you build wealth through real estate. And so you're our prime example of, being able to purchase a home and then save again, and and then make it into a rental and have someone else pay your mortgage. So that has just been an amazing way of building your wealth through real
I can give you
estate.
just a quick example, of some clients that we've served, just to maybe encourage those that are listening to this podcast, right now, that they can do this. We've got some clients that we helped. They got married, got them into their first house. About 3 years later, they started talking with us about buying the second one. Little did we know they had been saving those 3 years, putting money away so they could step into house number 2. Well, thankfully, when we got them into their first home, prices were a little bit lower, interest rates were certainly lower, and as they looked at their monthly payment, it was about $1,500 a month. That's really all it was. Rental rates had gone up to $2,100 to $2,200 a month on that home. Then with all of the creative financing and new builds and things like that were happening in the market, competitive buy down programs and such, we were able to get them into a new primary home. They were able to rent the other one out, cash flow $600 to $700 a month, which made up the difference on the new home that they got into. So they weren't feeling financially that additional press each month because of what they were doing to cash flow each month. Now they have 2 homes. They're in a brand new one. Somebody else is paying the note on the other one. And now they're building wealth through real estate, and they're already saving for house number 3. There's all kinds of creative ways for people to generate, long-term wealth for their family, for their children's children. And so we just want to help guide people through that and let them know they do have options. When people come to us and they say, man, we'd really love to do that, to buy a house, but we just don't know we can afford it. Generally, my first question is, who told you couldn't do this? Who told you that? And so once we start bringing solutions to them, they actually realize that there is a pathway forward for them. And we love finding those.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a concept of arbitrage or OPM, other people's money, that I think is super important to use there. You use the example of a client saying, somebody else is paying off that note.
That's right.
At the end of the day, that client's bottom line being their net worth, although they're not feeling the squeeze or the pinch of that additional mortgage that they had because it's covered by the other person, their net worth is growing year over year. And that's a perfect example of other ways that we sometimes use financial tools in investment portfolios as well to outperform in the right balanced portfolios, what your nut is and what you're borrowing. So for example, mortgage rates were historically low in 2020 to 2022. If somebody could get a mortgage loan at 3%, and we know that on average, the S&P 500 per se returns anywhere between 8 to 12% on average over a long time period. If they borrowed that money at 3% in this specific scenario, invested it, and had an average return of 10%, their positive spread on that would be 7%. In that scenario, you're using just an investment account to do that. But then imagine you do that through a real estate investment. Hey, my cost to borrow this over here is low, but I can invest that money over here to make more money, oftentimes with specific tax benefits associated with that. So in this case, that would be somebody that's further on the spectrum of willing to take more risk. Some people, their strategy is, hey, I want to pay off my home right away and just live debt free. I think there's merit in that too. And so what Jobey said earlier about everybody has their own temperament for risk, establishing that's super important. And that's part of where our fact-finding process and working together with our clients that we refer mutually is part of the process that's super important there.
It's true. I think in the same way, sometimes when people look at that investment, there's money to be made even for future wealth building, even when there may be a current monthly net loss on something. You may have, let's say that scenario with the friends that I just described. Let's say they were, let's say their mortgage was actually $2,400 a month, but they were only able to rent it for $2,200 a month, and you've got a house that every month they're contributing $200 a month out of their pocket. So simple math tells you there's a $2,400 a month or a year investment that they're having to make to cover that loss. But the positive side of that, they own a house that may be appreciating 8 to 10% a year that's worth $400,000. Well, at the end of that year, they've actually gained $32,000 to $40,000 worth of equitable
net worth. Yep.
And it only costs them $2,400. So those are the kinds of things, even helping people through, that whole mindset of sometimes there's maybe a little bit more investment involved out of your pocket. Okay, so give up a couple lattes a month because the bigger win is $32,000 worth of equitable net worth.
Totally.
I mean, sometimes we're in a culture of people that, man, we don't want to lose anything, but we want everything, and we're
absolutely.
not willing to sacrifice some of the things that we really love for something that actually is going to benefit us, our children, our children's children down the road. And so I think we need to shift our mindset many times.
Yeah, sometimes I tell people that they lose sight of the forest for the trees. If here the trees are, hey, I'm losing $200 a month on my monthly payment here. Well, the forest that you missed out on was your $40,000 net worth gain at the end of the year.
Right.
And if people have tunnel vision on that, sometimes it can be hard for us to help them zoom out.
Right.
When in doubt, zoom out, I tell people a lot.
That's great.
But if your net worth can increase, you can have tax benefits and doing these other things. You have to decide how much risk you're willing to stomach. When taking on risk, sometimes having trust in the scenario that you are investing in is really important. I know for you guys, similar to me, we don't find just our trust in the actions that we're making alone here on earth. We have faith, and I would love to hear what role faith plays for you guys, not only in your own life with your daughters, your businesses, but how do you help clients let their faith inform maybe some of the moves that they're making with investments?
Yeah. Obviously, faith is a huge part of our walk and our daily journey. And for me, it's prayer. Time spending with God, just reflecting and asking Him to guide the day, guide our decisions. I pray for our transactions, for our clients. I ask God to bring every client that He has for us. I know that it is an opportunity for us to care for people and to walk alongside their biggest decisions, and I don't take that lightly. So I ask God to bring us the right people that need us and that we might need them, and I also just ask that He bless the transaction. So that's how we do what we do. That's why we get to do what we do, is because God trusts us with that, and we trust Him with our full business.
Yeah, I think that's great. In addition to that, we really focus on some principles, biblical principles in what we do, and you'll hear us talk about stewardship with our clients. You'll hear us use words like generosity, and we still want the fruit of God's Spirit to be evident in our lives. We want love and joy and patience and kindness and self-control, all of those things to be evident in the way that we do the work that we do, and hopefully some of that will just rub off on our clients as we're working with them, that they see joy evident, that they see all of that. But I would say a key thing for us is generosity. We really want to be generous. We want our people to see generosity lived out in what we do. And so, that to us is, we tell our team as well, we want to be the kind of people that lead with generosity and making sure that we're generous with our time, we're generous with our resources, that we're generous with a thank you. When people refer us to other people and they recommend using us as a team. So those are some really key things for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I hear a lot from my own clients is, TJ, would you take your own advice in this scenario? I cannot tell you guys how many realtors I know that don't own a home. Would you take your own advice? Do you walk the walk? Something I appreciate about you guys is you do walk the walk, right? Without getting into specifics, I've seen you guys put into practice the things that you coach people on with investing in real estate, with your primary home and other things alike. Andy, you said something there that was really important, and generosity and the role that plays in helping lead people not only to a moral life, but to Christ ultimately is who we're pointing to. Something I see you guys do oftentimes is bless people with some of the resources that you've been able to create, for your clients, whether it's giving people an opportunity to get away and recenter as a family or do those types of things. Walking the walk in that is really important. And so I appreciated that about you guys always. One of the things that drives me crazy is those realtors that don't own homes.
Right.
It's like, okay, well.
Yeah. Do you trust a chef that doesn't eat his own food? I mean, really.
Exactly.
So.
And I think that's where you learn the most, is going through the experience yourself. So that's why we just keep buying houses. So we just keep recalling all the process and all the steps.
Absolutely.
But even in this home, like how we remodeled it, we took it down to the studs and the foundation, and we rebuilt it. Mostly he rebuilt it. I designed it. Yeah. But it was such a process, and I learned so much. And I'd already been in the business for 12 years or so. But I then learned what is underneath the walls, like what is in the attic, like why are we choosing this AC unit over that, and why are we choosing this insulation. It just really helped us to be able to understand how a house is put together, and so it just really expanded my knowledge.
That's true.
Yeah, that experience is the best teacher, again, in that scenario. Somebody says, hey, Jobey, I'm looking at doing a gas or an electric dryer. What's your opinion on that?
Right.
Well, let me tell you, because of
Right.
XYZ.
Yeah.
You know, something else that oftentimes I hear from people is that your network is your net worth. If your network is your net worth, something I've seen you guys always be able to put into practice is having other trusted professionals that you guys work with. I'm glad to say that I'm one of those people that you guys work with and refer to often. But in your line of work, there's a lot of professionals that you have to extend trust to when you refer. There's general contractors, which Andy helps fill some of that now as well. But you have home inspectors, you have loan officers, you have insurance agents, all sorts of things like that. How important has your network been to your team's success?
So it's been paramount, and the relationships that we develop with them, because generally, you know, people come to us and they don't know someone in that space. And while we want to be thoughtful about how we recommend people to others, we want to say, here are a few options of trusted people that we know personally. We've worked with them. They share the same values that we share. So they understand stewardship. They understand generosity. They understand care and relationship. And so those relationships that we've developed with other people have just been key. But I also think there's something really important about understanding the world that each one of those people live in to a degree, because that really helps give us an appreciation for what they do. And in many ways, we're able to, the knowledge that we've gained in their specific fields, whether it be, like you said, home inspectors or title, loan officers, different things like that, we know enough about those things to really be helpful, tee those people up, help manage expectations of our clients throughout the process, and really create a great partnership. And with that, trust and credibility is developed. And when you have that with a client and somebody that you're serving, it's the secret sauce to create something special with them.
It is special, absolutely. Something that I love about you guys is the way that you encourage your clients to have a wide strategy with the things that they do in their investments. A notion that I hear a lot of times when people come to me as their financial planner or financial services company is that when they mention real estate, they hear other financial advisors have maybe encouraged not investing in real estate. And I think a part of that is, selfishly, a lot of other financial advisors, they make their money by managing your money. Right. So if that's the case, how often have you guys seen other advisors maybe not encourage people to invest in real estate because maybe there's other selfish motives? And what has that been like for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak from when we started investing, when we were 21 years old, when we got our first job, no one was discussing real estate. It was just like, here's a 401k, here's a 403b, there's a little bit of a match here, here's an IRA, why don't you put into this? And that was it.
That's it.
And they're all great tools. They're all great tools, but that's one of the things that I believe sets you apart from other people in your line of work, is your believer in, again, diversifying, helping people to understand all of the different resources that are out there and different pathways for generating wealth, and how they can take, you know, a self-directed IRA, how they can take a 401k or 401k solo and use some of this to invest into other things. And you've opened the door up for us personally. I mean, that's why we trust you so much, is you've guided us in ways that other people that we've had as financial advisors in the past have not. You've been able to just open our eyes to other things that we didn't know were possible. And I think that's a really key thing, and that's why this partnership has worked so well too.
Yeah.
Not just because we're great friends, but because we trust each other professionally as well. And so we come to you and say, hey, TJ, what do you recommend we do this year? How should we invest this thing? And it's been tremendous. And that's why we trust you with all of our investments. Now we've just moved them over into your court. And, you know, and you believe in the pathway of real estate as well. So there's just this mutual connection that we have, and we're working together to not just serve one another, but serve the people that trust us. So
Absolutely. One of my favorite questions that I get to ask people in my line of work, but especially something that I'm hammering on with this marketing effort in this podcast, is asking people if you could go back and give yourself advice as a younger couple. Maybe it's when you first got married or you had your eldest daughter at the time, or you just started your business. What is a piece of advice that you might offer yourself? Blink and open your eyes back to 15 years ago, whenever that is. What would
you answer that? I've got one, and I'm curious what yours is.
I would have never sold any house that we ever owned.
Yeah.
That is like,
Right.
I wish someone coached us like we coach people now. Is I wish that they would say, I wish to that younger self would have said, you bought a house for $125,000, rent it. I mean, in 1997, and we put 3.5% down on an FHA loan. I mean, it was incredible, and to think that house is now $450 at least.
And we bought it at like 8.25%.
Yes.
So everyone that's in this market
my
now
God.
barking about, like,
Let's
listen, 7%. Hey, here we are.
8.25%,
Eight
and
a
it would
quarter, our
still
first
be
home.
worth it to have kept it and
100%.
refinanced, of course. But every home, they were also just so valuable, and I wish we'd never have sold any of them.
My other friend and client, Adam, who I had on the podcast recently, who you guys have worked with as well,
Yes.
another cool connection.
Yeah.
I asked him this question just last month. You want to know what his answer was?
What?
I wish I never sold a house.
Yeah.
That is ironic.
That's
I can
awesome.
promise you we didn't
Yeah.
coach to that answer.
Yeah,
but
that's
his first
awesome.
answer was I owned
Yeah.
homes in Southern
Yeah.
California, other things, and I wish I'd never sold them.
Yeah.
Andy, I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear yours.
Well, that was it. And I would say the other thing, too, is that while we did start putting money away into a 401k years and years ago, we did get to a point where we stopped contributing to that so that we could do some other things as far as real estate was concerned. But, in many ways, if I could go back, I would have, of course, have been contributing again for a number of years, but there was a season that we stopped, because we were doing some other things. And I wish I would have never stopped because, like they say, the best time to start investing is 5, 10, 20 years ago. The next best time to start is today,
Right now.
So I would encourage anyone that's listening to this that I don't care what age you are. I don't know what's the age that you can start investing into something. I mean, a parent can certainly set up an account for somebody, but
there's a lot of different scenarios that
Yeah.
dictate the age at which you can
Okay.
invest.
Yeah.
Parents can certainly help children and use other accounts like that, but 18 is a general rule of thumb for when you can start investing for yourself in accounts.
So I know we started doing it when we were 21, and I would say, man, listen, even if you start at 21, 40 years of maxing out a Roth IRA at $7,000 a year, and start smaller. Just do something. And by the time you get to even 40, I mean, good grief, man, your total contribution is going to be minimal compared to the return. And so I just think people need to understand the power of compound interest over time.
Yeah.
And that's the key, is like, don't mess with it, leave it alone. Anytime, if you work for an employer that actually contributes to you, free money is the best money. I mean, good grief. Like if you get a 3%, 4% contribution from your employer, by all means, put 3 or 4% in and double that. Otherwise, like, put into something. Start now and just let it ride. Be faithful to that. I mean, you've got to understand the power of that compound interest over time.
Yeah.
And the same is true of real estate.
Yeah, time in the market beats timing the market every single
Every
time.
time.
I tell people all the time, money's like a bar of soap. The more you touch it, the less you're going to have. And to your point, Andy, investing faithfully for a long period of time, when you zoom out, oh my gosh, the benefit that has for folks.
Yeah.
And being faithful to that strategy is really important.
That's right.
So one more question for you guys before we kind of part is, sometimes I've seen people get burned by getting over leveraged or getting over their skis with their risk tolerance with their investments. You guys were more of adults through 2008 than I was. Right? 2008, you probably saw a lot of things for people that had over leveraged themselves, or they didn't think, what is plan B if this doesn't work out for me? What have you guys seen in the way of clients maybe not setting themselves up by thinking about the whole plan very well? And how do you help coach people to maybe make sure that they're seeing the whole picture and all the associated risks with that?
Well, I'll just say real quick, we always say, when you're considering your monthly payment of what your mortgage is going to be, make sure you have money for ice cream. Like don't ever overextend yourself that you're not going to be able to do the daily things that you want to do as a family. You're wanting to, be able to buy each other gifts and do kind things. But I would say that at that time, people were making decisions of over leveraging how much they were putting into a home and not putting enough down. They weren't considering market changes and such. And there's a lot of just also lending practices that were incorrect. So I think that's kind of part of it. There was some mismanagement
A
of
lot of stupid loans.
Yeah.
People were they paid a lot of stupid tax.
Yeah.
Adjustable arms, 3-year, 3-1, 5-1.
in my opinion, that's
stupid
on
stuff.
lending.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
a lending
totally.
practices
Yeah.
that were not best for our buyers. And so that was, I think a lot of that has been taken care of with a lot of the new acts and different legislation that,
If you want a loan now, they need the blood of your firstborn.
Yes.
On my most recent
Yes.
loan, if I had a firstborn, they would have had the blood of that child.
But
But
they
now,
wanted your dog.
oh my gosh.
yeah.
It really is true, Jobey. I think what you said there is important, is that lending practices have changed.
Yeah.
So getting somebody into a home at this point,
Right.
not to guarantee this, but loan officers and lenders are going to do their own due diligence
Yeah.
that person can meet the
Yeah.
obligation that they've signed
Right.
up for.
Yeah.
Right.
And you guys oftentimes too tell people sometimes if
Yeah.
they're just way off base with what it is they're trying to
Yeah.
do. If somebody wants $1 million home, but in reality their financial plan dictates them having a $300,000 home.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes you got to get real with people and give them a
Right.
little taste of truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We talk about leverage a lot,
Yeah.
You and I feel like we're talking multiple times a week sometimes and just bouncing ideas off of each other and spurring each other on. But we have these conversations and talking about leverage. And sometimes people, they don't feel comfortable with leveraging their debt and that sort of thing. I understand that. There's just value. Like, you need to operate from your values and your own personal convictions. Whether it's your faith that drives you or certain principles. It might just be just a comfort zone type of a thing for you. But, I would say the key thing when it comes to making those types of decisions, if you're married, man, be in unity with your spouse on them, first of all.
Totally.
Because, man, we all know money, that's the number one cause of divorce. It really is. It's just people not being in agreement when it comes to that. So I really think that's a key thing. Be very thoughtful. Be calculated. If you're going to leverage yourself with debt, you're going to leverage yourself with a HELOC for investment or whatever. It's so nuanced. There's so many different pathways, but there is a wise way to go about some of this. And again, there's risk involved. You're not the one controlling the market conditions, but what you can control is the input. You can control the people that you bring around you, the team you have around you to help guide you towards some wise pathways. And so whether it be in your investing that you do, whether it be in the world of real estate, what we do, these two worlds coming together, converging, but just be wise about it, and then again, just operate with wisdom, be thoughtful, and make sure that you're not over leveraging yourself, because markets do change. They go up, they go down. So when it comes to buying a home, we just always tell people, like Jobey said, don't buy outside of your means. Don't spend money now based upon a temporary, rate buy down that you're hoping, hey, I can afford this payment now, and I'm going to refinance out of it because I hope I can refinance out of
what
it
if you
because
can't?
I can't afford it. Don't buy that house. That might be it's too much for you, So just buy within your means, live within your means. Make sure that you can continue to be generous. Make sure that you do have some room at the end of the day for a little ice cream, a trip, do whatever, that kind of a thing. We kind of joke about that, but still, it's very important.
Yeah, living within your means. That's super important. Something you guys have said to me, my dad shared with me since when I was young, on the topic of just living within your means.
That's right.
Getting greedy is what I see sometimes
Yeah.
happens with people. They
Yeah.
they get a little bit too overzealous with the
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
sometimes keeping up with the Joneses,
That's
whatever
it.
that looks like.
That's
I know
it.
I've got a lot of one-liners, but, hogs get fat, pigs get slaughtered. When people get too overzealous and they get too greedy in their investments, especially with real estate where
Yeah.
you've got a large leverage position on your properties, if you get too greedy, sometimes that's what leads to you getting burned.
That's true. And sometimes I think, we just have to realize it's not wise to take financial advice from broke people either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I mean by that, you may not even be having the conversation with somebody, but you may be letting what you see happening in their lives, what they
Totally.
drive, the way they dress, the places they travel, whatever, inform what you're going to do, and you're listening to those voices. and you have no idea whether they're leveraged out, whether
Oh
they're
my
just
gosh.
broke, or man, they may just be up to their eyeballs in credit card debt, you know?
Oh my
so
goodness.
really be thoughtful about the people that you bring around you, the voices that you let in. Like, I just tell people, like, find somebody who is living out behaviors,
Yep.
living out values and such that you actually aspire to live out on your own.
Walk the walk.
They're walking it. Talk with them.
Yep.
Ask them, what did you do? I guarantee you, stewardship, being steady, being calculated, most likely being very conservative in many ways, is probably the pathway that took them there. They likely weren't over leveraged. They weren't up to their eyeballs in debt. They made wise decisions along the way, and they were looking at the marathon and not just the sprint.
Totally. Well, thank you guys so much for the time that you've spent with me today. I can say confidently, Andy and Jobey Frank are a professional real estate team that I've gotten to work with personally. I've shared my clients with them, and they've been taken care of time and time again. So if you'd like to work with Andy and Jobey, you can visit frankrealtygroup.com. They're outstanding to work with, and I would love to be able to help coach you and teach you on how working with them can help your overall financial plan. So thank you guys so much for taking the time today. I'm excited for the conversations that our conversation is going to spur ongoing. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I'm really grateful that you've done this with me today. So
you, TJ.
Thank you.
thanks everybody.
Appreciate it.